Saudi Arabia is a rich country today. Many people ask, why is Saudi Arabia so rich? Its story is very interesting and perhaps surprising. This land, mostly a desert, became a powerful country in the world. To understand this, we must look at its history, starting a very long time ago. The land where Saudi Arabia is now has changed much over many, many years. It was not always a dry desert like today. Sometimes the weather was different. For long times, this land was green. It had grass, trees, and maybe even rivers or lakes. These times were good for plants and animals, and also for people. Then the weather changed again. The land became hot and dry. It turned into the desert we see today. This happened many times in the past. These changes in the land made life different for people living there. Early people lived on this land a very long time ago. When the land was green, people could move easily. They followed animals and found food. But when the land became a desert, it was harder to live. People had to find places with water, like oases or near rivers. They started to live in smaller groups, maybe tribes or small towns. Life was simple but often hard in the desert. They learned to live with the dry land and its challenges. The Arabian Peninsula has water on three sides: the Red Sea, the Arabian Sea, and the Persian Gulf. Even with much desert, people lived in towns near the coast or at oases where there was water. Because of its place on the map, the land was also important for travel. People from faraway lands, like those in the east and west, wanted to trade goods. The Arabian Peninsula was often in the middle of these trade paths. People living here could trade with others, selling things they had or helping traders cross the land. This helped towns grow, and different groups of people lived side by side. This old history, with its changing land and early people learning to live there and trade, is the start of the long story of how the Arabian Peninsula developed. It shows how people survived and created ways of life in this unique place, which would one day become the powerful kingdom of Saudi Arabia. It was a land of tribes, towns, and traders for many, many years before it became one country. 2. Old times in Arabia. Long ago, the Arabian Peninsula was a land with tribes and towns. People lived in small groups, sometimes fighting each other. But things changed greatly in the year 610. A man named Muhammad lived in the city of Mecca. He said he received messages from God, important words for people. This was the beginning of a new religion called Islam. Islam taught people about one God and how to live. Many people in Arabia began to follow Islam. The new religion became very popular and spread quickly outside Arabia. Followers of Islam, called Muslims, moved across many lands. Their armies went west to North Africa and Spain, and east across the Middle East. Mecca, the city where Islam began, became a very important place. It is a central belief in Islam for Muslims to try and visit Mecca. This special trip is called the Hajj. Because of the Hajj, Mecca became a famous city. Many Muslims traveled from far away to come to Mecca every year. The followers of Islam built a very large and powerful empire. This empire had a time of great learning and invention, often called a golden age. People made new discoveries in medicine, science, and other areas. The Arabic language, spoken in Arabia, became important for study. But like all big empires, this one started to become weaker over time. It broke into many different parts and smaller states. Eventually, the Arabian Peninsula became independent again. But it was a land of many different groups, like dozens of tribes and small cities. These groups often fought among themselves for power. Meanwhile, other powerful countries in the world became interested in Arabia. They saw its location was important for trade routes. Two big countries, Britain and the Ottoman Empire, tried to control parts of the peninsula. Britain, which ruled India far away, wanted safe places for its ships traveling the seas. They built small colonies along the coasts of Arabia to help their trade. The Ottoman Empire was a large empire in the Middle East. They wanted to add Arabia to their lands. But the desert land and the many tribes made it hard for them to fully control the area. The Ottomans tried for hundreds of years. They often gave money and weapons to local Arab groups who would support them. But they never had enough power to take over the whole peninsula. So, Arabia remained a land with many rulers, where tribes and towns made their own rules, often influenced but not fully controlled by bigger empires. 3. A new idea for Arabia. The land of Arabia was not one country. It was divided into many small parts ruled by different tribes and leaders. There were many towns and small states. These groups often had disagreements and fought with each other. In the 1700s, in this divided land, a new idea began to grow. People started to think about bringing all the Arab people together. They thought they could be one strong state, united by their shared religion, Islam. A key person behind this new idea was a religious leader named Muhammad bin Abdul Wahhab. He had strong beliefs about Islam. He taught that many Muslims had stopped following the true and pure path of their religion. He wanted people to return to a very strict way of practicing Islam. This strict form of belief became known as Wahhabism. His teachings were not popular everywhere. Some people felt threatened by his ideas, and he was forced to leave his home area to be safe. He traveled and found a place to stay in the town of Diriyah. This town was ruled by a leader named Muhammad bin Saud. In the year 1745, Muhammad bin Abdul Wahhab and Muhammad bin Saud formed a very important partnership. Muhammad bin Saud agreed that his state would follow and support the ideas of Wahhabism. His soldiers would help spread these teachings. In return, Muhammad bin Abdul Wahhab's religious message said that the House of Saud, the family of Muhammad bin Saud, were the true and proper leaders for Muslims because they followed the correct way of Islam. This alliance proved to be very successful. The state of Diriyah grew in power. Later, a new leader from the Saud family took charge in 1765. He used the powerful idea of uniting Arabs to begin conquering more land. They fought against other local rulers and tribes across the Arabian Peninsula. Their big aim was to create a single, large Arab state, the first state led by the Saud family. Their ambition grew, and they even challenged the large and old Ottoman Empire, which had control over many parts of the region. The Saudi forces achieved important victories. They took control of the holy cities of Mecca in 1803 and Medina in 1806. These cities were very important and had been under Ottoman rule for a long time. Taking them showed the people of Arabia that it was possible to fight and win against the mighty Ottomans. However, the Ottoman Empire was a vast power, even though it was starting to face problems in other areas. The Ottomans saw the rise of the Saudi state and the spread of Wahhabism as a big danger to their control in the Middle East. They decided they must stop this new force. So, in 1811, the Ottoman Empire ordered its forces in Egypt, a land under Ottoman power, to invade the Saudi state. The war that followed was long and difficult for both sides. It lasted for around 7 years. The Ottoman army had strong military technology that the Saudi forces did not have, especially powerful artillery cannons. The Ottomans used this strength to attack the heart of the Saudi state. They focused their attack on the capital city, Diriyah. They heavily damaged and destroyed the city with their artillery. Diriyah was left in ruins and could no longer be lived in. The fighters of the first Saudi state and the followers of Wahhabism were very dedicated to their cause. They believed strongly that they were fighting for the right way of Islam and a united Arabia. But their strong faith and fighting spirit were not enough to overcome the superior military power of the Ottoman Empire and its Egyptian forces. The first Saudi state was completely defeated and came to an end. This first important attempt by the House of Saud and Muhammad bin Abdul Wahhab to create a single Arab country under their rule failed. 4. Trying again for a kingdom. The Al Saud family did not stop trying to build a state. They still had a strong idea of a united Arab land. A new leader came from the family. His name was Turki bin Abdullah. He decided it was time to try again to get back the family's power and influence. In the year 1824, Turki bin Abdullah made a move. He successfully captured the city of Riyadh. Riyadh was a small but important town. Turkey chose Riyadh to be the new capital city for his new state. He called this state the Emirate of Nejd. This was the second time the Saud family started a state. The Emirate of Nejd had some early success. Turkey and his men were able to take control of areas around Riyadh. They won back some land that the family had lost before. They were doing reasonably well in the region. But building a state in this area was very hard. They faced many difficulties. One of the biggest problems was the powerful Ottoman Empire. The Ottomans saw the growing Saudi state as a danger to their own control in the region. The Emirate of Nejd was not as big or strong as the Ottoman Empire. They did not have the same number of soldiers or modern weapons. There were also troubles inside the Al Saud family itself. After Turki bin Abdullah's time, members of the family started to disagree and fight. They fought over who should be the ruler of the Emirate of Nejd. This family fighting made the state weaker from the inside. It was hard for the rulers to stay in power and focus on building the country when their own family members were against them. This was a problem that came up again and again in the family's history. In 1838, the Ottomans, working with their army from Egypt, attacked the Emirate of Nejd. The Saudi leader at that time, who followed Turkey, was captured. The Egyptians then put a ruler they controlled in charge of the emirate. This ruler did not really lead the Saudis. He followed orders from Egypt and the Ottomans. A few years later, the Egyptian army had to leave the area. They had their own problems to deal with in Egypt. When the Egyptian army left, the puppet ruler they put in place was removed by the Saudis. A new Al Saud ruler took power. However, the disagreements and fighting within the Al Saud family continued. This made it difficult for the new ruler to make the state strong. Some unhappy family members who wanted to be in power even asked the Ottoman Empire for help against the current Saudi ruler. The Ottomans saw this as an opportunity to finally end the Saudi threat. In the 1860s, the Ottoman forces returned to the region. They took advantage of the civil war happening within the Emirate of Nejd. The Ottomans easily defeated the divided Al Saud forces. They overthrew the Saudi family rule and installed their own officials to govern the land. The Ottomans then divided the territory that was the Emirate of Nejd. They did this to make it harder for the Saudis to unite again. The Ottomans had better weapons and trained soldiers, which the Saudis could not defeat in a large war. By the year 1891, the last Al Saud leader fighting to keep the state alive had to give up. The second Saudi state, the Emirate of Nejd, collapsed completely. The remaining members of the Al Saud family had to leave their home. They went to the nearby country of Kuwait to find safety and protection. Their second try at building a kingdom had failed, just like the first one. 5. A new leader, a new start. After the second Saudi state fell, a young man named Ibn Saud became important. He was strong and smart. He wanted to build a Saudi state again. He gathered a small group of about 40 loyal followers in a city called Kuwait. In 1902, they made a brave plan. At night, Ibn Saud and his men went to the city of Riyadh. Riyadh was the old capital of the second Saudi state. They made a surprise attack. They fought hard and won the city. This was a big victory for Ibn Saud. Riyadh became his new capital city. Winning Riyadh made Ibn Saud famous. People in the desert region called Nejd heard about his victory. Many local tribes started to support him. They saw him as a strong leader who could win fights. Ibn Saud promised them success and land if they followed him. He used his reputation to get more allies. Slowly, Ibn Saud and his allies started to win more land around Riyadh. By 1906, he ruled the southern part of Nejd. By 1912, he controlled most of the Nejd region. As he grew stronger, he came into conflict with the Ottoman Empire again. The Ottomans were not as strong as before. They had lost land and had many problems. They feared Ibn Saud would build a big Arab state. So, the Ottomans and Ibn Saud fought for control of certain areas, like the fertile land of Al-Hassa. In 1913, they fought for Al-Hassa. The Ottomans had powerful guns, but the desert heat was very strong. The heat made the Ottoman guns difficult to use. Ibn Saud's fighters, who knew the desert well, won this fight. They pushed the Ottomans out of Al-Hassa. With more land, Ibn Saud changed the name of his state to the Emirate of Ned and Hassa. He began to make his control stronger. He formed a group called the Ikhwan. These were fighters from the tribes who believed strongly in Wahhabi Islam. The Ikhwan helped unite the tribes and made people follow the rules of Wahhabi Islam. This helped build a country with a shared culture. Ibn Saud showed himself as the protector of Wahhabi Islam. He put religious rules into his government and army. In 1914, his state signed a peace agreement with the weaker Ottoman Empire. Ibn Saud was building the third Saudi state, based on strong religious beliefs and the support of the tribes. 6. Big wars and new borders. World War I, 1914 to 1918, was a very big war across the world. It changed many things, especially in the Middle East. Before the war, the Ottoman Empire controlled a large area. But the war made the Ottoman Empire weak. In the end, the empire was finished. After the war, European countries like Britain and France became very powerful in this region. They made new borders and took control of many lands that were part of the Ottoman Empire. This meant the map of the Middle East looked very different. Britain had supported the Saudi leader, Ibn Saud, before the war. They gave him some money and help. But after the war, Britain changed its plans. Britain started to support other Arab leaders instead. They especially liked the Hashemite family. The Hashemites were powerful in the area of Hijaz, which included the holy cities of Mecca and Medina. Britain wanted strong friends in the Middle East, and they thought the Hashemites would be better allies than the Saudis for their new plans to control the region. However, Ibn Saud and his followers, the Ikhwan, did not stop their fight to unite the Arabian Peninsula under their rule. They continued to expand their territory. This led to fighting between the Saudis and the Hashemites. The Saudis fought against the Hashemite control of Hijaz. Controlling Hijaz was very important because of Mecca and Medina. Millions of Muslims from all over the world travel to these cities for the Hajj pilgrimage. The fight for Hijaz was long. The Hashemite leader there lost support from other Arab leaders. The Saudi Ikhwan army was strong and loyal to Ibn Saud. They pushed into Hijaz. By 1925, the Saudi forces had taken the city of Mecca. By 1926, they also controlled Medina. Winning Hijaz was a huge victory for Ibn Saud. His state now covered a very large area, including Najd and Hijaz. In 1926, Ibn Saud gave his state a new name to show its size and importance. It became the Kingdom of Hijaz and Najd. The creation of this new kingdom changed the power in the Arabian Peninsula. Big countries in the world, including European powers like Britain and France, as well as others, began to officially accept the kingdom of Hijaz and Ned. This was a big step. It meant the Saudis had successfully built a powerful state with new borders after the big wars changed the world. 7. Making one strong country. The kingdom of Hijaz and Ned was new. Countries like Britain and France had power after World War I. They could have tried to take the land, but they did not. In the 1920s, the desert land did not seem rich. People did not know about much oil under the ground yet. European powers were more worried about something else. This was the Hajj, a very important trip for Muslims to Mecca and Medina. These cities were now part of the Saudi kingdom. Millions of Muslims from many countries make this trip each year. Many European countries had Muslim people who wanted to go on Hajj. When many people gather closely, sickness spreads easily. Diseases could travel with pilgrims back to their homes. This caused problems for European powers. The countries of the world cared about who controlled Mecca and Medina. In 1926, a meeting in Paris about health happened. The new Saudi kingdom was invited. This showed the world accepted the Saudis as rulers of the holy places, but with a condition. The Saudis had to promise to manage the Hajj well and make health better for pilgrims. They said they would build medical centers and clinics. This was hard because the kingdom did not have much money. But the promise was important. It helped the Saudis get acceptance from other countries. Inside, the Saudis worked to make people united. The land had many tribes who often fought. The government used the teaching of Wahhabism. They shared religious writings to teach people what they thought was the true way of Islam. This helped create a shared culture. The Ikhwan, a strong religious group, helped people follow these rules strictly. They also helped people who moved around settle in villages. King Ibn Saud needed peace. A new system was made for the tribes. If someone broke the law, the tribe leader had to punish them. If not, another tribe leader or the king's army would take action. This system worked well. Fighting between tribes stopped. Law and order came to the land. Step by step, the kingdom and its people started to feel like one strong country. 8. Oil and today's Saudi Arabia. The new country got an official name. In the year 1932, it became the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. This new kingdom had a problem. It did not have much money. The main way the country made money was from people who came for the Hajj, the important religious trip to Mecca. But in the 1930s, the world had big money problems, a time called the Great Depression. People had less money, so fewer people could travel for the Hajj. This meant Saudi Arabia got less money. Then something very important happened. People were looking for oil in the ground. In 1938, they found it. They found a very, very large amount of oil. This discovery changed everything for Saudi Arabia. Finding oil made the country rich very fast. Suddenly, the government had a lot of money to use. With the money from oil, Saudi Arabia started to grow and change quickly. They used the money to build new things. New cities were built. Long roads were made across the desert to connect places. More schools were opened so children could learn. Hospitals were built for sick people. The country became modern in many ways. Because Saudi Arabia had so much oil, it became important in the world. Many other countries needed oil for cars, planes, and factories. Saudi Arabia could sell a lot of oil. The country helped start a group called OPEC. This group is made of countries that sell oil. They work together to decide how much oil to sell and what the price should be. This helped keep the price of oil good for them. The money from oil brought many good changes, but also challenges. A lot of the oil money was used to build the country. But money was also shared with the large Saudi family. This helped the king stay strong because the family members were happy. The government also used money to help the people so they would not be unhappy and start problems. However, the country did not use much of the oil money to start many other kinds of businesses. So, Saudi Arabia still depends a lot on selling oil. Saudi Arabia today is a powerful country because of its oil. It has changed a lot from the desert land it was before oil was found. But with oil prices changing and the world looking for other types of energy, what do you think is the biggest challenge for Saudi Arabia's future?
Hey there! Just a second before you go. If you learned something new today, please give this video a like, write your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to the channel. It only takes a second, and it really, really helps to create even better English videos for you. Your support means the world. Thank you.